Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Mouse Minds, streaming for you live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and also recording for all your favorite podcasting platforms. Basically, wherever you can get a podcast, that is where we are at. So, we are joined this week with Michael. How's it going, Michael? I don't think I can hear you. Can I hear you?
Oh, I don't know what's
Oh,
going on.
there you are. There you are.
Okay, everything is good now.
Awesome. Well, we are glad to have you here with us. Now, with this week's show, obviously you can see by the title here, we are going to talk about Festival of the Arts. There was a lot of great things going on at the event. I actually love this event. It's gotten I remember when it first started, the first year they had it. They went really heavy like on the artsy stuff and really heavy on the like artistic food, and that's kind of been the general theme continuing on with this whole festival, and it's gotten so much better over the years, and I'm excited that we have this festival. And it's so awesome to be able to walk around the parks, or we'll walk around Epcot, enjoy the beautiful artwork, see the different artists everywhere selling their artwork. I got a painting for my daughter, and the artist was right there and signed it right there on the spot. So it was an absolutely incredible experience. It's always great to see the chalk art, the 3D chalk art. It's great to see, the different kinds of art that they bring to this festival every year. And they also bring in not only just uh, like paintings, but also Broadway comes into play with the Broadway shows. We also have the new Communicore Hall. Communicore Hall has been decorated with uh, a showcase of Disney on Broadway with some of their costuming in there, which is probably the best use of the Communicore Hall that they've had since its inception. Mostly it's been sort of a sit down table and chair type place. During the holidays, there was a nice gingerbread spaceship earth in there, but again, they were only using like half of the room and the other half was just open. So it's kind of a weird space that hasn't really had a purpose. And I mean, really still now, I mean, it's more of a festival showroom, but it's one of those places that I feel like it's not big enough to really do something, like, amazing, but it's just big enough to do something cool, and I think that's what they did with, um, this last exhibit, or this exhibit that they have in there now. The only thing I will say about it is it does feel very cramped in there. I don't know about you, Michael, if you went and saw it, but it does feel very cramped in there.
Yeah, it was always spacious until you try to do, I guess, too much with it. Because you have the gift shop
Yeah.
at the end, and then you have the entryway, but you have to walk along the sides. And they tried to cram so much in there. I know they're
Mhm.
trying to represent a lot of their shows. I mean, I don't even think Newsies took up that much room. But what
Yeah.
do you do without putting all the costumes together and really pack it in? It did feel cramped. Fortunately, when I was there, because I don't go weekends, it wasn't too crowded, so you could still walk around, you could still breathe, you could still enjoy the exhibits. But you're right. I mean, they packed a lot of stuff in there.
Well, and don't forget, not only did they pack in the Broadway stuff, they also have always have some sort of merchandise in there that they're selling.
Yep.
So there was half of it was a merchandise, or well, not half, more like a quarter of it was for merchandise too. So most of it was display, but there was a small section for merchandise, which the merchandise in there always feels so thrown together because they basically like roll in these, you know, uh, I don't even know what you call them, the little things that hold the shirts and things like that, little racks that hold the shirts and so on and so forth. Like it just kind of feels a little thrown together, but I mean, it's fine. that space is not. They don't normally do, uh, you know, merchandise in that space. I would imagine that more time out of none, it's going to be just seating space. I'm interested to see what they do with this for uh, Flower and Garden. I'd be interested to see what they do with that because you can't really do. It's not big enough to do classes in, but I also don't think it's. They used to do inside the Little Wonders of Life Pavilion. They used to do the front, do like the festival shops inside that pavilion, and it was nice because you had like little areas where you could do like have speakers talk and things like that, and it was a lot bigger than what you have in World Show or Unicore Hall. But I'm interested to see what they do because I mean I guess they could use the Odyssey to do some of those things, but again, you could do basically one speaker in there where you could have multiple inside the Wonders of Life Pavilion and have a bunch of shops in there as well. Whereas you're very limited on size in Communicore Hall. So I'm not too sure how that fits in. Now, if I remember correctly, just speaking of Communicore Hall, um, I do remember someone saying that they were sending out surveys about Communicore Hall um, and asking people if their thoughts on Communicore Hall. I'm trying to find the question um, about that, but I remember reading something that Disney was actually sending out surveys, gathering feedback on Communicore Hall. That was something that I saw recently, and I would say that not to go too far off topic here, but I would say that the recent additions to Epcot, uh, Communicore Hall, World Showplace, have and I don't know about you, Michael, but they haven't set too well with a lot of the fans just because a lot of the things are just not working like they're supposed to, especially in World Showplace. The LED lights in the ground, that's just, it worked for like a couple months and then it's kind of died out and they fixed it and then a month later it was broken again and the lights are kind of like coming out of the ground and it's a whole thing there and people are unhappy with Nicor Hall because it's just a it's like if you were to have a it's almost like if you were to have a clubhouse in your local neighborhood, that's what it reminds me of. Um, it's very uninspired.
It seems to me like they got one crop of interns in and they all came up with these ideas, and then their session ended and they brought in new interns that had to implement, but nobody knew why they were implementing
Yeah,
it. Then those interns are gone, and now you have a new crop of interns that are now responsible for doing things with the existing space. They spent all this money and I don't think they had a plan.
so
You're asking guests, what should we do with
yeah,
Communicore Hallway? You built it. What was the foresight? What was the plan when you built this? Don't ask me after the fact. Hey, we have a space
and
now. What?
and I did happen to find an image of I don't know how long ago this was sent out here, but I did happen to find uh the survey question here. How would you rate your overall experience at Communicore Hall during this festival compared to Communicore Hall during summer 2024? Would you say the basically asking asking people, like I said, how they feel about Communicore Hall. I think Disney's still trying to find the purpose for this. Um, Honestly, if
Mm-hmm.
I were them, I would just look. I mean, I would treat it like what they had before. At this point, just treat it like what they had before in that old hallway, inside the old Communicore building. Load it up with charging areas and just let people relax in comfy chairs and just let them sit. I know it. There is. I know they do. Are now doing food inside there as well. That's a nice option too. I just I don't think it's big enough for. I mean, maybe do if they wanted to do some sort of merchandise, maybe half seating and half merchandise. But even then, I think that's a push. I think the best use of that space is just indoor seating, especially during the summertime when it rains every day. You know, it's hot. Give people a place to relax because it's not big enough to. I mean, it's just not big enough for these types of things. I mean, I'll admit that the Broadway exhibit is incredible, but I just don't feel like it's big enough for that space. And I feel like if they had a bigger space, they could have done something a lot more than what they did. And I think that's where they wanted to go. But I don't know, Michael. I mean, what do you think?
Is so is the Wonders of Life Pavilion like? Is it just about condemned? I mean, you've got that huge space. I can't imagine they've done much with it. It's probably in major disrepair right now. But I mean, you have that space, so they didn't have to build something new.
I mean,
And then what's the other space over where the other side of Epcot in World Showcase that used to be the
the
Millennium Pavilion?
Millennium Showplace, yeah,
Yeah.
Millennium Village, Millennium Showplace, yeah,
I mean, you've
yeah.
got so much space you're not using. If you're going to tear down one, because I know they've just basically walled it off now.
I
And I
don't
don't
know
know if
what
they're
they're.
hoping that the termites will
I don't.
just come and take down Wonders of Life, but so they don't have to pay for the demolition.
So when it comes to
But I mean, it was
the
worth.
Millennium Building, is it world? Is it what is it?
Mhm.
I forget what it's called now. But when it comes to that building in World Showcase, and he's talking about the building that's in between Canada and the UK, that's back in the back. You can see the doors for it, but it's back there and it's closed off. They have not. They
Right.
used to use that for um the event, the the Party for the Senses event, things like that, at Epcot, and they don't use that for that anymore. So I don't even know if they have those parties anymore at the parks. They don't use that anymore. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't know the last time they used that. So I don't know what's going on over there. As far as the Wonders of Life Pavilion is concerned, I don't know if they actually started work because they were supposed to change that into the Play Pavilion. And I don't
Right.
know if that's something that they actually did and started demolition in there. Um, but I do
Did they
know
just
that
give up on that Flea Pavilion? Is that done now? Are we
yeah,
not going to get
that's pretty much been confirmed that that is just like over. It's just
that's
done.
finished? Sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah. When I
that's
used
pretty
to,
much
we went into that into the Odyssey, and what was coming. It would have been so wonderful to have gotten all that, but it's all right. But I mean, at least the Odyssey, they're
well.
still keeping that going with each festival. Even now, Festival of the Arts, there's always specialty drinks, specialty food to go in there. It's not just
Mhm,
your standard fare. So
mhm.
it's for people that don't go over there, sometimes it's done up a little more than other times. But the Odyssey is definitely worth a stop in if you haven't been over there. If you don't take that little pathway over to the building that nobody kind of knows what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is very. It's nice in there, but again, it's not big enough. It's good to do like one class,
Yep.
but it's not big enough to do multiple. The Life Wonders of Life Pavilion had a lot of space to do multiple classes and shops and everything else. And that building was in disrepair even before they started work. Even when they had it open as a festival center, it was still in disrepair. You could see the stains in the roof where the water had leaked in. You could
Yep.
see like tiles and things had issues and maybe fallen down. You know, these things are were happening already. So I don't know if they got into that pavilion and were like, "Oh my gosh, we have to start from the ground up. We'd almost have to knock it down and start over because the building is in
Hmm.
such disrepair." Plus, you have, the Body Wars attraction that is still, to my knowledge, intact in there. And that's just an old attraction that's been sitting there forever. a simulator attraction. So who knows what that's going to take to either get that out or whatever else they're going to do with that. And then there's other attractions in there as well. So it's it's hard to say what their plan is for that pavilion, but it's mostly been confirmed that there's nothing really going on in that area at all. So I don't know. I just I there needs to be something at Epcot for these festivals, a festival center, and especially with food and wine and um flower and garden. I mean, people really look forward to the festival of the classes at Flower and Garden more so than they do at Food and Wine. It's nice to do the cooking demos. That was what was nice about, the festival center with Food and Wine is you had the cooking demos, which I don't even know. I mean, maybe I don't know if they did them last year or not, but people really I know a lot of people that really like the plant demos and doing you know, uh putting the seeds in there and making your own potted plant, and I have friends that did that every year, and I'm not sure if they're doing that anymore.
Yeah, it's stuff that you don't get to do all the time, and it's nice to have that as an offering.
Yeah, yeah. I just I don't know, you know, it's I hate to be, there's been a lot of discussion, this week at, if I don't know, I believe it was a Wall Street Journal article that said that Disney has priced out the American family and all this other stuff, and, sometimes it feels like even like we had a lot of things in the past, and, they've just kinda slowly just gone away. To quote, one of my friends, Kevin Yee, who used to do an article, called "Declining by Degrees." It's been little changes over the years that now when you look back, it's like a huge thing, and I think that's really what we've lost with a lot of these festivals is a lot of the little things that either used to be included or were maybe a small upcharge are just not something they're doing anymore. So, it's it's interesting to see that. I you know, I'll be interested to see what they're what what they do with Flower and Garden this year, and I'm really gonna look this year to see if they're doing those classes and things like that, because those were a lot of people really enjoyed those classes, and I don't even know if this year if they're doing the artwork classes at, Festival of the Arts. Did you notice that at all?
I've seen people with sketches, but I don't know if it's just like an extension of what they're doing at Animal Kingdom with the drawing class. But I haven't seen anything beyond that. I really haven't read much, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything offered for pay.
I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything
Yeah,
like
I've just
that.
seen people drawing characters, but that was about it.
Yeah, let's
Although I
see
didn't
here.
see it when I was walking through the park, so it
So,
might have.
yes, they do have them. It looks like they still have them. Um, it looks like they still have them. Let me see here. I'm trying to look it up right now. And the Animation Academy is still available. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's at the American Gardens Theater. That's such a weird place to do that because there's no you don't have like a desk where you can draw at. That's an interesting place to do that at. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one because where are you going to draw at? Because the whole nice thing about doing it inside, I remember I think it was last year they did it inside the Odyssey, and you had the speaker standing in front of you, and you had the tables where you could actually do the artwork on the table. So that's interesting.
Yeah, which
But
would make more sense.
yeah,
So have you
how
had
do
a
you feel?
chance to get over to the festival? I guess you have by now.
Yeah, I went opening day. So I
Okay.
went opening day for the festival. I had a great time. The food is great as always. I will say it does kind of suffer the fate of Flower and Garden. I mean, not Flower and Garden, but Food and Wine. when it comes to repeat dishes. There's a lot of repeat dishes, which
Hmm.
I really don't mind too much. Because there are a lot of things that I like there. Um, like there's the tomato soup and the grilled cheese. I really like that. Um, they keep bringing back the Tangerine Cafe, which closed years ago, and they never reopened it. Um, they never reopened it. N- with that, they've been serving like like kebabs and like a bread with like different hummus dips, and they've been doing that at every festival, and it's just been like the same thing at every. They do it at Flower and Garden. It's the same thing. They do it at Food and Wine. It's the same thing. It's basically the same menu at every festival,
Well,
which is
it's not.
interesting.
It's not one of the booths. I think the booths they
No,
rotate
it's not
out,
a
but
booth.
once the restaurant's established, I mean that's their menu. Unfortunately.
Well, no, it's not. But that's the thing, though. One, if there's no festival, it's closed. So
Mm.
they only open it during the festival. I could understand like if it was a 100% all the time thing, but they advertise it on the festival menus
Hmm.
as a festival option. So I I mean like the stone baked Moroccan bread served with hummus and all that and the
Yep.
dips. They've had that at every festival in the last year.
And it's probably available at the restaurant on the water there too. I'm sure they're just using the
I, I'm
same
sure.
menu at some point.
I mean, I know they're in there like grilling and everything in front of you because they have the grills in there where they're doing the kebabs, which I'm sure you could get at the at the restaurant too at the Tangerine Cafe. But I mean, it's nice. It's a nice option. I enjoy it. I'm not necessarily complaining that it's there, but it's just one of those things like it just keeps coming back. But a lot of the dishes that we've seen from years past have come back and they're very artsy and there was a there is a in Italy there is a what is it? It is a I believe it's like a fried mozzarella.
Yeah, which
Um
was not the best. I was disappointed with it, but
you had that
I tried it last year. I didn't go back for it this year
and that's the one that gets served on the palate, correct?
on the palate. Yep, with the three different dipping sauces.
Yeah, well this year I think it's more. I think there's
Mm.
like four or five different there's one, two, no, there's yeah, there's four dipping sauces this year.
Which is weird because you're not getting much by way of the cheese, so you're gonna have to take a bite and then dip.
Yeah, and it's like a weird piece of cheese too because it's like flat and thin.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it yet, but I heard a lot of people say that it was not the most appetizing thing that they had. It didn't taste the great. It tastes that great. They also have a squidding pasta this year that a lot of people have been talking about. I mean, squidding pasta is one of those things where it's like it comes out black, so no matter everyone's gonna freak out and say it's you know amazing because of the color of it. So I've never had. I mean, I've had squidding pasta before, and it other than the color, I didn't taste a huge difference.
yep,
I mean, that's just me.
yeah.
And then
Yeah, some of the things will come back,
mhm,
and then you have things like Morocco where it's always the same food. But
yeah,
for the most part, I think what I appreciate is that we look forward to showing up. I don't do any research ahead of time. I'm not looking for.
mhm,
We walk in. The first thing we do is grab a book, and we look forward to seeing what's there and what's new.
yeah,
They do all the deconstructed menus for
mhm,
Festival of the Arts, and it's awesome to have those rotating menus. And yeah, you're going to
yeah,
look forward to your favorites coming back, but once you have the grilled cheese and tomato soup, you're not going to have it once Flower and Garden starts.
yeah.
You'll always have the potato soup,
There's always your festival favorites.
right? So yeah, there's always something, but at least there's new food for the most part to explore. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that grabbing that book and coming up with new things to try with each
there's
festival. So
new foods, but a lot of the I mean, you basically like I think that when it comes to festivals, a lot of us have become creatures of habit because
mhm.
we go back every year to the festival, so we tend to look forward to certain dishes. food and wine, especially. The chocolate cake in Ireland, the Canadian cheddar cheese soup, the filet. I mean, I don't eat meat, but if I did, these are things that the filet and the cheese soup are things that I would look forward to. What is it? Festival of the Arts. They have is it this one? I believe there's a tamale. I don't. That might be the Christmas one, but there's an impossible tamale. But there are dishes that they bring back every year that kind of remind you of the festival. I just kind of wish that there was more cycling of stuff because I feel like a lot of it is the same stuff that they had last year. But that's just my opinion.
Right, but at least it's been a year since we've been able to have it.
True, that's true.
Some
That
things
that
will
is true.
change, and there's always a new flavor of, the drinks. Um, Drinks are awesome too. Who's out? And I may look forward to something, or I
Yeah.
may forget. I didn't memorize the book, and anything I didn't want last year, I won't be looking for it again this
Mhm.
year. But if there's something new on the menu, definitely going to give it a try.
Yep. And of course, every year at the festival, we have the Broadway shows. Now, I did not see. Well, I did see a little bit of the Broadway show for the day that I was there. It's not my. I'm not really into Broadway, so I don't get as excited as a lot of people. I mean, they fill that theater up. The American Gardens Theater gets filled up really quick. So if you're gonna do that, get in line early, or I'm not sure if they do a dining package for that one. But get there early, get there, a couple hours early and get in for that. It is people really, really, really enjoy that, and it's nice to see that there. Again, not really my thing. I can appreciate the voice and the talent. Lots and lots of talent. And it's the thing about Epcot and that American Gardens Theater, it's so amazing the amount of talent that goes through that theater. Like I was thinking the other day of all the concerts that I've seen at Epcot and the like there's so many bands that come on the radio, when you're, 80s, 90s bands and I'm thinking, "Oh, I saw them in concert. I saw them in concert," and they were playing at Epcot. So, it's really cool to think about the amount of talent that has come and gone at Epcot. It's incredible, and the same applies to, the Festival of the Arts as well. Disney does not skimp on the talent at all, when it comes to these, events, and they haven't, in years. Um, the only time that they ever, um, I wouldn't say skimmed, but there was a time where they were doing a summer festival at Epcot, where they were having, like, bands come in the summer, and it was more like tribute bands. Like, they had, like, a Journey tribute band. I think they were called Slippery When Wet. And, there was a couple other bands that were, like, tribute bands, but I mean, they were really awesome, so it was really cool to hear that music anyways. But the amount of talent that comes through for those concerts at Epcot, especially looking into, Flower and Garden coming up, the concerts that are coming for that, it's so awesome that we get to have that right in our back door. That's just such an incredible thing to me to have access to all these concerts, and it's not even just Epcot. You think of Universal with Mardi Gras, you think of SeaWorld with their Seven Seas Food Festival. I mean, there's so many bands coming. I guarantee you can find something that you like coming to Orlando, and all these shows are included with your day's admission, which is so awesome. So awesome.
That's the thing. That the fact that they're free. Um, Over
Yeah.
here we've got that Strawberry Festival, and we look to go to the Strawberry Festival. They got a lot of nice acts, but it's $65 or more on top of the admission. There may be some of them are bigger acts, but I mean, to be able to go to
Yeah.
Epcot and hear anybody that you can come to every single show if you want, all for free.
Mhm.
They have a nice
Mhm.
mix so that you're always going to find something you like.
Yeah. I mean, just like I'm just gonna read off a couple from from um from Flower and Garden this year. I mean, Air Supply, Rick Springfield, Herman's Hermits, 38 Special. I mean, these are all the orchestra. Um, Sugar Ray. These are all, they may not be, um, you know, the top like performers right now, most popular performers right now, but these are amazing, amazing performers that put on amazing shows. Now, what I will tell you, um, when you go to these types of performances, and I know we're on a little tangent here, but at when you go to Epcot, Epcot does their performances in like 30-minute blocks. So
Hmm.
every show is basically a 30-minute block. The other parks basically, if you do decide to go to another park and see a performance, they are full on concerts. They are not 30-minute shows. They are hour and a half, 2-hour shows. I know at SeaWorld, it's typically a 2-hour show, at SeaWorld. I believe it's the same at, Mardi Gras at Universal too. So if you do come to the area to see a concert, um, keep in mind you will get a full concert, but it's it. I can understand. I like both ways because if you do those 30-minute shows, there's more of a chance that you'll get in there. You'll get a condensed version, hear basically the hits that you want to hear, and then you go about your day. Whereas if you do, an hour and a half concert or a 2-hour concert, you got to get a seat, get there early, and then you got an hour and a half concert. You sit through a whole bunch of songs. I mean, if you really like the band, it's of course, but yeah, I've seen some pretty amazing concerts in Orlando, so it's definitely something to think about while you're here, because especially this time of the year, spring, like right into February into March, between once we get Flower and Garden rolling, once we already have the Seven Seas Food Festival going at SeaWorld, and then we have Mardi Gras going at Universal. There's going to be so many concerts going on around Orlando. It's going to be insane. So be on the lookout for that if you're interested in any of those concerts. And the first we have March 7th, is when they start the concerts at Epcot. So be on the lookout for that for Flower and Garden. That's what's coming up next. But moving on to the artwork at Festival of the Arts. Now, this is the big thing that brings people every year. I'm amazed at how much artwork people actually buy
Yes.
when they're at this festival, because it amazes me for two reasons. Number one, some of this artwork is some of these artists are very good at what they do, and they charge a premium for their products, and it just flies off the shelves, which is amazing. And number two, the I don't know how these people get this stuff home. Do they ship it? I mean, I don't know if you're visiting. I don't A lot of this stuff will not fit in a suitcase, nor would I wanna put it in a suitcase and risk it getting damaged. So that was my other thought too, as I was seeing people leave with huge pieces of artwork. I would imagine they have them shipped, but I don't know.
I always think anybody carrying home a large box is local. They're carrying it back to their car and they're going to go home and hang it.
Yeah.
I know they do ship. I had to buy a piece of art for a friend of mine who wanted
Yeah.
something, and I had to send it to his home in New Jersey. And
Mhm.
they were very happy to take the money, and they'll take care of shipping for you. What's nice about that is if anything gets damaged, it's on the
It's
artist
on
and
them.
his team.
Yeah.
Somebody had asked me to pick up a picture for her. Her daughter ran a marathon, and she asked me to get the Dopey
Mhm.
Challenge picture. Happy to do it. I was about to mail it to her. I said, let me let Disney mail it just in case. Sure enough, when it got to her house, it was mangled. And I said, thank goodness I let Disney do the shipping, because I was off the
Now,
hook for the
yeah,
damage. So that worked
that makes
out
a lot of
pretty well. So yeah,
and
I
it
think you can, rest assured that it'll be shipped to you. There is a charge, and it's not based. I'm sure it's also based on dimension, but the
yeah.
gentleman I bought it from, they based it on price of the item, is how they
Okay.
calculated the shipping, which I thought was interesting. It wasn't a giant
Well,
canvas; it was a print.
I'm sure there's, like, insurance involved and things like that, so I would imagine, they have to insure it for a certain price when they ship it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why it costs more if it's the item. I don't know. I don't know. That's really awesome that they do that. I I kind of knew that they did that, but I'd never been in a situation where I had to have something shipped, so I've never done that. The most I know, that I've done is, order something and have them bring it to the front,
Right.
and then have it sitting up there waiting for me when I leave, and then I can grab it and go.
Yeah, I'm not
Which,
carrying art onto American Airlines. I will very happily have that shipped safely to my home.
yeah, I definitely don't blame you there. I would not want to have to check that. But there's a lot of great talent there. Did you see anything that you really piqued your interest?
So I, over Black Friday, I wound up ordering a piece through Kincaid Studios, and I knew they'd be at a premium when I got there. But sure enough, the same piece that I picked up at a reasonable discount over Black Friday was full price and then some at the festival. So I mean, I don't know if I would have bought it. I might have been tempted, but it was nice to be able to pick it up online and then go over and feel vindicated that, hey, at least I got this at a better price. But I was glad to see that the art was actually at least available.
Yeah. Well, you definitely got one of the very popular artists at the festival every year. Kincaid Studios is always popping.
I'm like,
But
if you're going to put out a rescuer's piece, I'm going to buy a rescuer's piece. I never would
that's
have thought they'd be putting something like that out.
that's true.
So that was
I
cool.
mean, Rescuers is awesome, so I completely understand that. But yeah, I mean, I had a great day at the festival. I think it definitely was crowded, but I went the first day, which isn't doesn't upset me too much because I did go the first day, so I'm not upset about that. Um, Food so far is pretty good. Some of the things are kind of gimmicky, like the mozzarella in Italy. My daughter really likes to get the palette cookie every year, but honestly, like the first year it was really good. Now it's not really that great. If you haven't seen it, it's just a giant chocolate chip cookie shaped like a palette with a hole in it, and it has different icing on there, and you can mix them together, and they give you a brush to draw all over the cookie,
Or to
and it's
decorate the
fun,
cookie.
but it's not. It's not really. I had a bite of it, and I was like, "This really isn't that good." It's more fun. It's more fun playing with your food than it is actually eating this because it's not the best dessert at
Just
the
like you said, it's
festival.
more of a gimmick thing.
Yeah,
And then if you do it once, okay, fine. But you're going to be upset if you don't get it ever again. Probably not.
no. Now there was some the believe it was it the Swirled Showcase? I believe, yeah, it was the Swirled Showcase, which is down next to the refreshment port, next to Canada there.
Yes, but the ice cream.
They are doing a sampler with like three different like a Dole Whip and some other flavors, other soft serve flavors. And I haven't tried that. I need to get back and try that because that looks really good. And I believe it comes with like some freeze dried candy too. Which I've had that before. I'm not a huge fan of that, but the soft serve actually looked really good. So that might be something I have to go to this weekend or sometime soon to get some of that. But that actually looks really good.
And for me, I
But
always look at the soft serve, but then there's always, there might be one or two that appeal to me, but not the rest.
Mhm.
So it's not enough to make me get all three, the set.
Of course.
So I'm not going to eat maybe two of them.
Yeah, you're only gonna eat 2 of them. I get you.
Yeah.
I got you. Now, did you participate while you were there? Did you participate in the giant mural?
No, it's but every time we go, it's closed by the time I get there. Plus it's
Because you
getting
go
darker.
yeah.
So all these years, I've never had a chance to do the mural.
I think they I think they shut it down at 5 o'clock. I wanna say it was when they did it last time I was there, it was like 5 o'clock. I'm not sure, but but if you don't know, when you go to, the Festival of the Arts, right next to the Swirled Showcase, they have a giant mural, and they basically give you a number, and they give you some paint, and you basically paint your number. you get like two spaces on the board. They give you the little tool to paint, and you paint, and then eventually it turns into a beautiful mural. And then that's it. And then they have that sitting there, and then they refresh. I think they refresh it once it's done.
Yeah, once it's built
And then
up.
start again.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
they'd have
they
to end it
refresh it.
for the festival. Then
Yeah, because it wouldn't last that long if they didn't.
is it
Um,
usually Figment themed? Because that's what I
I
remember
believe,
seeing
yeah, the
time
last few
at
years, I
Epcot.
believe it's been Figment themed. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, most of the Festival of the Arts is Figment themed, which is I always find the amount of Figment that they put into Epcot a little weird, because they do so much for him, especially at this festival, because they gave him the whole, like, that whole area inside the Odyssey is designed for Figment,
Yep.
and it has nods, a lot of nods, a ton of nods, an ungodly amount of nods to the classic attraction, the original Journey into Imagination, but yet they show no love to the actual attraction itself.
Right. Yeah. You're
Which,
never going to see Dreamfinder in
and
there.
and honestly, like, I I've talked to my daughter about this. I've talked to other people, and you know, a lot of people don't like the current attraction, and I can tell you exactly the reason why that attraction never has a long wait. And I've heard this from so many people, and it's one thing in that whole ride. It's not the smell when you go through that scene with the skunk thing. It's that explosion at the end when they blast the air at you, and it's this loud sound. People just do not like that. And I've heard that from a ton of people. I mean, obviously there's other reasons too. It's a shell of what it was in the past.
Oh, it's terrible.
It was a much more detailed attraction when it first opened. I mean, night and day compared to what it is now. I mean, obviously they did take out a lot of the track when they rebuilt it the last time, and there, so there's a lot missing from that ride. But um it that seems to be the biggest thing that I hear. But my point is, it's weird that they show so much admiration to Figment, but yet they don't do anything with his attraction.
And I
And
guess
it's been
because
that way
it's
for
such a
years.
terrible attraction at this point, and you have your purists that will remember Dreamfinder, but I mean, he's essentially gone.
Mhm.
So I don't know what else you could, possibly do.
I
Even the
mean,
walk around character, they stopped him for a while, then they brought him back. If you don't do that, that little bee guy isn't going to sell enough merchandise. So you kind of have to keep running with
but
Figment to be your cash cow for that park.
but the thing is too, it's like the amount of merchandise that they sell for Figment and how much of a production he's become, especially with the popcorn buckets.
Yep.
How they always sell out of those things the first week, and they have to have massive amounts of stock on those things because they sell out like crazy.
Yeah,
His
last year
sweater,
didn't do too well. The year
it,
before, when it was brand new, that was one thing, and they sold them again a second year. Then they tried that shape
but
of the
this year he did
building that
really
just
good.
fell flat. I don't know how this one's selling this year, but I don't see many people walking around with it. A couple
I, I've
people.
I've heard that this one is doing good. I know, like the first few weeks. The thing with that is like the first, like, the people that really want that will go there like quickly and grab it, and then it kind of dies off. And I think a lot of resellers grab it too and just sell it online, even though they're trying to curb that. And I think that kind of hinders that too. But it seems to do. I will tell you, the one thing that I noticed that did the best was his sweater. I saw so many Figment sweaters in the parks. It's all I saw during the holidays at Epcot was Figment sweaters. Everywhere you went when it was cold out, there was a Figment sweater. You could not go 5 feet without a Figment sweater. And even after, in January when it was cold in the parks, I still saw Figment sweaters.
And do you know why? Social media.
Yeah,
That's all it
I, I'm
is. Because if I was walking
well.
by and saw it, I'm not going to buy it. The minute somebody else has it on Instagram, oh, I need one of those.
Well, I do really feel like my point is, I think Figment has a place. I think there are enough fans for Figment. I think the excitement is there for Figment that it justifies them, doing stuff with the ride. It justifies them reimagining the ride. I understand, there's a lot of pavilions at Epcot that need work. Let's just put that out there. We saw that recently with the land pavilion and that whole situation with the roof falling down and Soarin'. I say roof falling down, but it was like a small section, but it fell down. But you can see the age on these buildings. I've I've personally I've personally been on Spaceship Earth when it's been pouring rain outside and felt water droplets falling on. So I know water leaks are at one point did leak into that attraction. So and you can see that too in some of the other attractions too, that there's water leakage. I mean, those buildings are definitely showing their age. They've been there for how long now? They're definitely showing their age. So a lot of those buildings need repair. And I've heard that the land has a lot more repairs that it needs that we don't see. Um, so it'll be interesting to see because those attractions haven't changed. The future world attractions haven't. The only one that the only one that's really changed is Test Track, and it consistently changes because it has a sponsor, and the sponsor pays for the changes, and they don't really do sponsorships anymore. With these attractions, so I really feel like that's why we don't see a lot of updates on these rides,
Yeah.
unless it's an IP based attraction, where they're working with a movie, and they can work with the movie company on that. We just don't see a lot of love on things like the seas
Hmm.
or the land or Figment. Mission Space is, been Mission Space forever. It doesn't, I don't think that's ever going to change. Like these attractions never change. Future World has become kind of stagnant except for Guardians and Test Track. Test Track is the one constant that always changes.
Yeah.
Even Spaceship Earth hasn't really changed in a while, and that even has a sponsor.
Right. So they both have their sponsors. I
So,
think at some point, especially with some of those things, if you have portions of the ceiling falling down or leaking, that becomes a hazard. And if you start injuring guests, you're going to have a much bigger problem than just going ahead and making these needed repairs.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And the land is kind of a hard one because you have major attractions in there that people enjoy. Soarin' is one of the top. You know, um, it's an e-ticket attraction. Let's be honest. It's gone down since Guardians came in
Hmm.
and Ratatouille is there. It's kind of taken away. It's not as packed, but it still gets very packed most of the time. It has an hour wait, but you can find it at a 25-30 minute wait. If you go at the right time of the day. People really like the land, although it doesn't necessarily are living with the land, although it doesn't necessarily always have a long line. There's a lot of times where that thing will be an hour wait to get on there.
Yes.
So these are major attractions that and Soarin' holds so many people. I think it's hard for them just to shut it down to for a long period of time and have all those people come out of there and into the parks. So maybe that's it. I don't know, but you're right. If things are falling, if the roof is coming, if small sections of the roof are coming down, 'cause I don't want to over sensationalize what happened. It was a small section of the roof that fell down out of the ceiling onto the floor. No one was injured, but a cast member saw it, and of course, people took pictures of it and ran with the title. Oh my God, the roof is falling down at the land pavilion, and that's not. If you look at the photos, it's not like it's not great, but it's not horrible. But these buildings do need a lot of repair, and it's and a lot of the features that, like for example, at the seas, we used to have divers that would come into that tube there and go into the tank, and they don't do that anymore. There's a lot of things that are in these pavilions that they don't use anymore that are cool features. And I would imagine that's just because the maintenance isn't there. They don't have those things just don't operate they don't work anymore.
Well, that's why you go outside to the festivals and you skip the rides for the moment and you go enjoy all the art and the chalk and all the other fun things going on because you only got a couple of weeks left. And then all of a sudden, that is it's
True.
the shortest festival they have.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that giant list of concerts available. Right? So
And it's because, go ahead.
no, I was saying, so then it forces you to go there. And then, you got the draw of the pass holder magnet, another
Yep.
reason to get up there. So I think there's enough going on within that what is it, a 4-week festival, 5 weeks?
Yeah. And it's crazy because I almost feel like it started just to fill in the time, fill in like January, and kind of fill in that slow season. A little bit because January is kind of a slow season, but it's turned into something that people really look forward to,
Yeah.
and are now planning trips around.
And I think you're right. I think originally it was designed as a placeholder.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't much to it, but now it really has legs.
Yeah, it's blossomed into something.
And I think the number of booths gets bigger every year with the artists coming down. I mean,
I swear, walking around World Showcase, it was like every 5 feet there was another artist.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many artists, it was insane.
Yeah,
and it's crazy because, in order for them to have that, they're only going to have that if it's needed. And every one of them had lines. There was only a handful of booths, and it was really the ones that were kind of hard to find. Like there were some down by Test Track, kind of in that area behind, behind the shop there, um, you know, connections there. It like those were kind of slower, but they were kind of hidden. Like you had to kind of know to go back there, and you're not going to go back there if Test Track isn't open.
right.
There's not too many people walking down that way. But all the ones in World Showcase had lines. I mean, lines.
I think you have to earn your chops too before they give you a prime space. And Kincaid had two tents side by side, a little space in between. But there are people, I've seen posts, people look forward to their favorite artists coming back.
Yeah.
See, they might not buy something every year, but it's fun to go in and peek and, have a chat with the person, see what's
exactly. And you can get the stuff signed. Like that's what's cool about like I never had that experience until I went there this time when I went there recently, because I've never really bought art at the art festival. But now it's something that I'm probably going to do every year, because having the artist sign it right there and go through the whole process, that was pretty cool. I was like, okay,
yeah, and
hey,
they're happy to
getting it
talk
right here and having pretty awesome thing.
They set time aside to go. If nobody else shows up to talk to them, they're sitting there doing nothing. They're happy and they appreciate that you came over to express your appreciation of what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're all extremely nice. I haven't met any of the artists there that are not extremely nice. They just love chatting with the people in the parks. They love displaying their artwork. They are so happy to be there. They are just so thrilled just to even be there. That it's amazing to see. So, kudos to all the artists that are in the festival. Kudos to everyone who gets the festival together, from the food and everything else. Disney, I will say, it is the art festival, but it is probably the prettiest food that they have all
Yes.
year at EPCOT when it comes to the festival booth. I mean, Flower and Garden, you have more, I would say, more springy, light type dishes, more garden inspired dishes,
Mm-hmm.
and then flower, food and wine, you have more flavors. It's all about the flavors. But with Festival of the Arts, it's about the deconstructed. It's about the pop arts, where you have the tomato soup with the grilled cheese, and it comes in the tomato soup can, and you're drinking out of like things like that, little touches that make it kind of over the top. So that it's really cool to some of it does feel a little gimmicky, but for the most part, it is pretty amazing. So if you have not been to Festival of the Arts, I highly, highly recommend that you go. You will not be disappointed. Um, it's a great time of the year to go to the parks. And two, if you go in January, and you travel during the week, it's not as crowded. Um, unless you go like on a marathon weekend or something like that, or when they have the cheerleading competitions. Which I swear I saw something earlier that said that they weren't doing the cheerleading
I
competitions at
saw
Disney
something
anymore.
that, yeah, they had pulled out, but I heard
Yeah,
there's still tons of cheerleaders there. So whatever they're doing, but I mean, what?
yeah. Well, I think they pulled out for next year, but we'll
Okay.
see what happens. Who knows? I mean, between that and and the marathon. The marathon is the big thing. I mean, in January, that's marathon weekend just takes up that. I mean, it's just craziness. But between those two things, but other than that, it's pretty wide open. You have a
This
lot of
festival
locals on
ends
the
what
weekends.
in
Go during the week and enjoy the show and enjoy the entertainment, and you'll have a blast. It's a great time.
festival ends 25th, I think, or am I off with the dates?
Uh, I know that the Flower and Garden starts on March 5th.
Hmm.
January 17th to February 24th. And then Flower and Garden starts on the 5th. So there's a little break in between there. And then once we get, I think once we get done with Festival of the Arts again, we're going to go back into like we did last year where we had go right into Flower and Garden, which there was always like a break during summertime. There used to be a break during summertime, like uh, June and July
Yeah,
and the beginning of August, there was no festival, but they've just rolled right into the fest. I mean, Epcot just loves having the festivals all year round because people like the booths. People like, and I'm sure that people are spending a lot more because you walk around and you have one sample, then you want another one, and it adds up really fast. So I'm sure that and then a lot of people that are staying on property are probably also booking advanced dining reservations and things like that as well. In addition,
and what's nice
so
is if you do go to the festival toward the end of the time,
mhm,
you won't be able to get into a lot of the flower and garden offerings, but you'll at least get to see the displays set up because the topiaries
yep,
are usually going up earlier. The
yep,
flowers around the lagoon, in the middle, not the lagoon, but the water, uh,
yeah, by the pond there.
yeah, the little pond, right
Yep,
where the monorail track is. That's already
yep,
that being set up with whatever theme they're doing that time.
mhm,
So you can kind of catch that glimpse of what the festival will be, even if you're leaving before the officially
yeah.
starts. You won't get to see the butterflies, you won't get to see the food, but you'll at least get to see the color.
But you can always plan it too, like if you do kind of that week where it starts and then kind of go beforehand and get that little break where there's no crowds and see kind of the stuff and then go in at the end of the week and really see the festival. Because Flower and Garden is just absolutely beautiful. It's amazing. The horticulture team at Disney is, I mean, it, if you imagine, I mean, the people that put all of that together, and I'm not just talking about Flower and Garden. I'm talking about all of Walt Disney World. The How beautiful the landscaping is there. It's just incredible to think about the amount of work that goes into that, and especially with Flower and Garden because of the work with the topiaries and everything else. So
And depending upon what climate you're in, you go in December at home, you don't have flowers, but there are
yeah,
flowers year round. These guys that are
yeah,
in charge of, go over to Wilderness Lodge, and the walkways are covered in color all
yeah,
year round. So you don't get that dormant period. They're finding the
yeah.
right flowers that'll bloom in different climate and temps.
Mhm.
They do an amazing job of making sure that the place is
And you
beautiful
and you
all year.
and you and I will press you to find anything on Disney property that is overgrown, not trimmed, not just 100% perfect all the time. It never happens. It never, even at like Disney Springs where there's a million people, it never happens. Everything is meticulously maintained.
Yep.
It's incredible how maintained it is. Like it's insane. Even with the like Magic Kingdom and these resorts around Magic Kingdom that have been there for so many years. It's so amazing how they've incorporated these trees that have been growing for years and the other stuff around that. It's absolutely incredible. They are magicians when it comes to I mean, it's like literally like they wave a wand and it's all. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, the grounds are
But
always well maintained, so nice to
yep,
see.
yep. So we look forward to the Flower and Garden Festival. But like I said, Festival of the Arts is still going on until the end of February. So be sure and check it out. Go find your favorite artist. Spend the day there. Enjoy the food. If you're into the Broadway shows, go check out the show at the American Gardens Theater. Um, there's a lot of great talent coming to the parks. It's really amazing this time of the year. The chalk art, everything there is
Yeah.
just gorgeous. So definitely
And
worth
as you
checking
said,
out.
the Broadway displays, it's seeing
Yep,
The Lion King and Aladdin, very cool to see. So,
yep, absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. We certainly appreciate everyone for joining us this week live as we record our podcast. And of course, we stream every Tuesday on Twitch, Facebook, on our Mouse Minds page, and YouTube as well. So make sure to check us out on those platforms. Um, and we're always streaming live on YouTube, and I'm always posting things or when I'm out and about in the parks at no matter what parks I'm at, is Universal, SeaWorld, or Disney. I'm always posting things on our Instagram page. So make sure and check out our Instagram.
and live
This weekend,
vicariously through Robert, so you don't have to go. We'll do it for you.
exactly. And this weekend on Saturday, I should be at Mardi Gras at Universal. We shall see. But that is on my list. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can weasel my way onto one of the floats with my daughter so we can throw beads because that's what I want to do. I was going to buy. They do offer a dining package that guarantees you float access, but they are all sold out by the time the day after the day before I did it. Like I went to I went on it like a couple of days before the event, before Mardi Gras started, and they were already sold out for all weekends for the whole festival. So there was no there was no shot. So I even if I wanted to pay I think it's like $80 per person to do it, which I was honestly willing to do, because you get a meal. So when you factor in the price of the meal, it's not too bad. So I was willing to do it, but they were sold out. So I'm going to try and see if I can. I'm going to get in the standby line and see if I can make it in that way. But if I make it there on Saturday, I will definitely do that. But hopefully, I'll be on a float throwing beads on Saturday. But that being said, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. We appreciate everyone that joined us this week. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning into our podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram so you can see all our amazing photos inside the parks and follow us on Facebook as well. And as I always say, if you can dream it, you can do it and do it this week and have some Disney fun. Sprinkle that Disney magic in your life. And we will see you guys next week.
Have a
Bye.
great